I'm going to vote for Drake Maye if I have a vote this year. Drake Maye, who led the improbable New England Patriots to a 14-win season. Drew Brees is envious of those types of numbers. It's pretty incredible when you really look at it. You look at what Maye has done. I mean, for a team to jump from 4-13 to 14-3, and yes, of course, Mike Vrabel deserves a ton of credit for that, but so does this guy. I got to go with the kid from New England. And there you see it. Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills, your reigning 2024 NFL MVP. Trevor Lawrence, after winning a division championship there in the AFC South with the Jaguars this season. Drake Maye, who led the improbable New England Patriots to a 14-win season. Matthew Stafford, who just does Matthew Stafford things now, doesn't he? And Christian McCaffrey. Congratulations to Christian McCaffrey for breaking his way into the picture, because the MVP award in the NFL has really, for a long time now, been the best quarterback award. I'm not sure if you can even win an NFL MVP award from any other position other than the quarterback position in modern times. The last time that we had a non-quarterback win the award was all the way back in 2012 when Adrian Peterson won it. And before that, you'd have to go all the way back to 2006 when LaDainian Tomlinson won the award. And even when a quarterback doesn't win it, historically, it's a running back that wins it if a quarterback doesn't. There have only been, in the history of the league, precious few men who have won it from any other position. There are 3 in the history of the league, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But I want to look at the MVP cases of these 5 guys as we consider and sort out the nominees. Josh Allen had a fine encore season for the Buffalo Bills. Not quite to the level of his 2024 season, but 25 touchdown passes, 3,668 yards. He had a 102.2 quarterback rating and 14 rushing touchdowns, accounting for 39 TDs between the air and the ground for the Bills. Trevor Lawrence accounted for 38 touchdowns during the course of the 2025 season. He had 29 through the air, 9 on the ground. His passer rating, only 91, although he did eclipse 4,000 yards, doing something that no Chicago Bears quarterback yet has ever done. Caleb Williams is going to do it next year, by the way. But Trevor Lawrence had 4,007 yards passing this year. Very impressive season, again, for a 13-win Jaguars team. Then you got Matthew Stafford, who is an all-time great, in my opinion. I've said many times, if he wins another Super Bowl, to me, Stafford getting his second Super Bowl elevates him into the conversation of top 5 quarterback ever in the history of the league. And I really do believe that. It puts him right on the edge of it, regardless of how you cut it. 4,707 yards, 46 touchdown passes this year. He's still got that arm, man, and 109.2 quarterback rating. And then there's Drake Maye of the New England Patriots, 4,394 yards, 31 touchdown passes, 4 on the ground, and a 113.5 passer rating that led the league this year. And he completed 72% of his passes, which is, Drew Brees is envious of those types of numbers. It's pretty incredible when you really look at it. And then, shout out, I'm a running back guy. There's no secret about it. Most of my favorite players through the years, I think Ronnie T-shirts would probably echo this. Most of my favorite players in the history of football are running backs more than any other position. And Christian McCaffrey had a hell of a year. 2,126 yards from scrimmage. So very impressive. 17 touchdowns, 10 on the ground, 7 through the air. He had 102 receptions to go along with his 1,202 rushing yards. And, you know, McCaffrey, 413 touches. That is some old school shit right there. That's what? Close to 25 touches a game over a 17-game season. That is 80s energy right there from Easy Ed McCaffrey's boy. And Shout out to him for making it into the picture, but I don't think that there is any danger that Christian McCaffrey will be claiming an MVP award this season. It's going to come down to the quarterbacks. I think we can cancel out Josh Allen. I think we can cancel out Trevor Lawrence. For me, the two strongest candidates are Matthew Stafford and Drake Maye. And at the end of the day, with all respect for the video game numbers that Matthew Stafford puts up in Los Angeles, I got to go with the kid from New England. You're talking about a team that's coming off of 2 4-13 seasons in a row, a team that's on its third coach in 3 years. Remember when Bill Belichick was still the coach? Just a couple of seasons ago. You look at what Maye has done. I mean, for a team to jump from 4-13 to 14-3, and yes, of course, Mike Vrabel deserves a ton of credit for that, but so does this guy. You got a coach and quarterback combination in New England that may prove to be extraordinary, and does that sound familiar? For everybody out there who has any lingering New England Patriots fatigue, you might not enjoy the next 10 years or so. How many does Robert Kraft need? Anyway, he's getting more Lombardi trophies than he's making trips to the local strip mall massage parlor, this guy. But I don't think the New England Patriots are done yet hoisting championships. Robert Kraft just might add to his total. I'm going to vote for Drake Maye if I have a vote this year. And so, as I said, it is normally a quarterback award. And many years a quarterback deserves it. I would argue this year is one of those years that a quarterback deserves the award. What Drake Maye has done in New England has been exceptional for the third-year man out of North Carolina. But I want to go back to what I was saying earlier. All right, in the rare cases that a quarterback doesn't win the award, it's a running back. This century, there have only been 4 MVP awards that have gone to non-quarterbacks. Marshall Faulk, 2000. Our friend Sean Alexander in 2005. LaDainian Tomlinson in 2006. And as I said, Adrian Peterson in 2012. There are only 3 non-quarterback or running backs who have ever won the MVP award. A defensive lineman, a linebacker, and one of my favorite little facts in NFL history, a kicker. Mark Mosley in 1982 was the MVP of the NFL. Strike season, some of you that are older like me remember that year. He made a lot of last-second field goals for the Redskins in the strike-shortened 82 season. What was it, 9 games that were played that year? And here's one of my favorite tweets, honestly. Another friend of the program there, Joe Theismann, holding for Mark Mosley. And it ain't every day. This is going to be the only time you ever see this, and you'll never see it again in your life. An NFL MVP holding on a field goal for an NFL MVP. Mark Mosley, the 82 winner, Joe Theismann, the 1983 NFL MVP. Now, there have been 2 defensive players, as I said. One of them I interviewed back in February of last year from Radio Row in New Orleans at the Super Bowl. The greatest defensive player of all time, Lawrence Taylor, in 1986, walked away with the award. 40 years ago, okay, 39, I guess, if we're playing it to the season. The last time a defensive player won the award. Myles Garrett is wondering what he's got to do to get into the Final 5. The new all-time single-season NFL sacks king, Myles Garrett, 23 sacks, doesn't sniff the top 5. That's what they think of defensive players when it comes down to this award. And, you know, people look at it and say, well, they've got their own award. Well, this is for the best player in the league. And I think Myles Garrett is certainly a more extraordinary defensive player than Trevor Lawrence is a quarterback. Not to pick on Trevor Lawrence. But anyway, I digress. Apparently the days of defensive players winning this award or even being considered for it seriously are long gone. The last person who even came close was J.J. Watt, who on the basis of his remarkable 2014 season, finished second in MVP voting to Aaron Rodgers, who won it that year. Who was the other man to win the MVP award from a defensive position? Well, that happened all the way back the year I was born, in 1971, when Alan Page, the best of the Purple People Eaters, claimed it. And Alan Page, what a life this guy's had. As I've tweeted, Alan Page was the 1971 NFL MVP as a D lineman, completed his law degree while he was playing in the NFL, served over 20 years as an associate justice of the Minnesota Supreme Court, and he plays the sousaphone. How hard are you trying? If you need a little inspiration, if you feel like you're not doing enough with your life, you probably don't feel better after looking at Alan Page's resume there. But the NFL MVP award, I don't know. Maybe we just need to start calling it the Outstanding Quarterback Award. Is it possible a running back might win it again? Yeah, probably. But if you look at the history of running backs who have won it, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, Thurman Thomas. Hey, Tim, Thurman Thomas won it. I hope that's not a touchy subject. Marcus Allen, Earl Campbell, Walter Payton, O.J. Simpson, Terrell Davis. So there you go. Who gets your vote, guys? Ronnie, Tim, tell me. If you had a vote this year, who would you vote for? I'm going with Drake Maye, as I said.
Him? Which is incredible, considering he was, they were questioning whether he was going to be a total bust just, last year, basically. I'm going to go Stafford. I think Stafford has quietly put together a great season, gunslinger, has his team where they need to be. Granted, he's got great receivers. I think Stafford would get my vote. Ronnie?
Ricky, how do you where do you stand on the argument that everybody always has about, is it the most valuable player to their team, or is it the most outstanding player in the NFL?
See, I tend to be, I think that I weigh contribution to the team achievement somewhat. I lean a little more most outstanding player, to be honest with you. I in the case of Drake Maye, I am weighting the fact that they're the number one seed in the AFC. They won their division. They won 14 games, and it was a tremendous turnaround. I'm giving him a little bit of extra credit on that, as opposed to Matthew Stafford going 12-5, tying for second place in that stacked NFC West. So, but I don't make team considerations the number one thing that I look at. I do consider it as a part of the picture. I remember when I was interviewing LT last year, and I was setting up with him, talking about how I consider him to be the greatest defensive player ever. That's not a revolutionary opinion. I think most educated observers would probably come to the same conclusion, understanding that there's some room for debate on that subject. But I was talking to him, and I said, and you got to realize that's an in-person interview. I'm sitting 5 feet away from Lawrence Taylor, and he's locked in on me, and I'm asking my question. And I said, when people talk about the greatest player of all time, I said, probably most people nowadays are going to say Tom Brady. And I saw his eyes narrow a little bit. And I felt that little wave of what you must have felt like as a quarterback looking out over your line and locking eyes with number 56. And I wasn't worried about him coming at me, but I saw the intimidation factor. And then I went on with what I was going to say, and his expression changed, because what I said to LT was, Tom Brady, you can call him the greatest player of all time if you want. Quarterback is no question, it's the most important position. So if you want to say the best person to ever play quarterback is the best player in the history of the league, that logic does make sense. And I think that that's the way that people get to crowning Brady as the GOAT. There's also obviously the 7 Super Bowls. But what I said to LT, and I meant it, I wasn't saying it to kiss his ass. I think that there is greater daylight between Lawrence Taylor at his position, the linebacker position, and whoever number 2 is. And that is with a lot of respect for a lot of great linebackers. I think Lawrence Taylor exceeds everybody else at his position more than Tom Brady exceeds other quarterbacks. You know, there's still Joe Montana and Peyton Manning and John Elway, and we can go down through the list of great quarterbacks. There are guys that are pretty close to Brady. I can't tell you that there's another linebacker I've ever seen who can do what Lawrence Taylor can do. And I think you have to maybe weigh that a little bit. When you see somebody like Myles Garrett should have been a finalist. If Myles Garrett is the best defensive player in the NFL, and he just had a historic season, and to not even be a fifth guy, not even to give him sort of like the hat tip that we're going to include you in the conversation, even though you don't have a chance in hell of winning MVP, I think says a lot about just the orientation that we have today and how we assess value in the league. Now, I'll come back and say, Tim, Matthew Stafford is a guy, coming down, I'll say he's coming down to the end of his career. What is he, 37? Nowadays, he might have five outstanding years left if he wants to keep playing. When I was young, 37, you were pretty much at the end of the line, but we live in a different world now. It helps that quarterbacks have so many advantages in terms of if you breathe on them, that's a problem and so forth.
Yeah,
but Matthew Stafford feels like a guy. Yeah. Okay. He feels like a guy who should have an MVP on his resume, right? So even as a tiebreaker, if you're looking at it and you say, Drake Maye's, what is he, 23, 24, whatever. You look at him and you say he's going to have a lot of chances. Matthew Stafford just put up some astronomical numbers, and he just feels like a guy that should have an MVP. So I totally get that. For me, he's the only other one that it's not Josh Allen this year. He's my favorite player. He doesn't deserve the MVP award this year. Trevor Lawrence in no way deserves it. There were all three of these quarterbacks had better years statistically than Trevor Lawrence.
You feel that way even before, right? The voting is just regular season, right? So you feel that way even before his 4 INTs last week. Yep.
Yeah, just strictly off a regular season, it comes down to Maye and Stafford. And,
Ronnie,
McCaffrey, and listen, much as I love a good running back, and I mean over 400 touches is sick in the modern NFL. We are past the era of the bell cow running back for the most part. So a lot of respect for Christian McCaffrey there, but there's no way he's going to win the award.
No.
Well, Christian's going to get the comeback player of the year, so he's going to get that. But we're talking about. I asked you the question: the difference between most outstanding player and the most valuable player to their team. Could you imagine not a great quarterback, just a regular good quarterback in the NFL on Buffalo's team? No chance they're in the playoffs. Their defense was terrible. There was no wide receivers there to speak of that are elite. So I mean. Josh Allen, I know he won it last year, and I know I don't know what that team, no chance would be in the playoffs. Who knows what the record have been without Josh Allen?
Yeah, it's a fair point. That's a fair point. And he might get some first place votes. It'll be interesting to see how the first place votes shake out. I expect that Drake Maye is probably going to win by a decent margin. The only way that I see myself being surprised there is Stafford. And Ron, this doesn't really have any bearing on the truth of what you're saying, because I do agree with you. But I also think because Josh Allen won the award in 2024, there's a lot of people that are going to want to, give it to somebody else this year.
I absolutely think this award and almost every other award, it has too many little variables and unwritten rules and this and that's that don't truly recognize who should win that award. I mean, you see it with the Heisman Trophy like almost every year, and maybe not with who wins it, but who gets invited to New York. It's like, well, this guy's already won it, and then you've got, we should include this guy kind of as a lifetime achievement award, and it's like it never feels like any of these awards are just exactly what they're spelled out to be and using that criteria. So it's one of these things, we're having this conversation, but really at the end of the day, it's like, man, if you're not going to have any hard and fast rules, does it really matter?
Remember back in the NBA in Jordan's heyday, there were a lot of years. What did Jordan win? Did he win 5? I can't remember how many he won, but he
should have won 12.
He didn't win as
many
many as he
years
should have won.
However many years he's in the NFL.
He should have won about 10, probably.
Yeah.
Karl Malone winning winning
Right.
MVP over Michael Jordan. Come on. But people
Ronnie,
get bored giving that
Ronnie,
award.
when Stafford wins it,
Same
we can
guy.
do a drink. I know you don't drink, but when Stafford wins it, we can do an eating game for every time they make the connection to Clayton Kershaw or they mention it on a program.
Wait, why would they make that connection? I know
that's your favorite. I got the over.
I've never heard about a connection. Interesting. Tell me after the show.
Well, if you enjoy football and discussion and fun and all kinds of silliness, you probably are the sort of person that would also be watching a lot of football, and you might be, like myself, somebody that wants to have a little skin in the game when you're watching the big games on television. And the biggest game of them all is right around the corner, and we got the next 2 biggest games of them all coming up this weekend, which means there's no better time for you to sign up with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. I have been doing this all season, having a lot of fun, making some money. It's like Wooderson back when he was working for the city. This is even better. I don't work for the city, but it's money in my pocket every time I take my knowledge and turn it into cold hard cash on Prize Picks. And you can too, and I'm going to make it exceedingly easy for you to do so. Simply download the Prize Picks app and use my code Ricky when you sign up. Then all you got to do is play one $5 lineup, one Abe Lincoln. You're going to get $50 in free lineups added to your account with which you can start to build your Prize Picks bankroll. Again, very simple. Download the app, use my code Ricky, play a $5 lineup, you'll get $50 in free lineups, and there's a lot to like about Prize Picks. For one thing, it's now available in all 50 states, so you got no excuses. There's no barrier to entry. Jump in, be a part of it. We've got early payouts now, max discounts, flexible options when you're setting your lineups. You can go for the power play or the flex play. It's simple to play. As I've said many times, one of my favorite things about Prize Picks, maybe my favorite thing about Prize Picks, is it is just easy to use. You go right into the app. Oh, I understand this, and you're off and running. And again, as I said, it's America's #1 fantasy sports app for a reason. So get in there, and I promise you, this weekend's action and the action in the big game are going to be even better when you got a couple of sweet lineups in there and you're poised to profit from your correctness at Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. And I'm going to go right out of that into Terry Pagula, Buffalo Bills owner. What the fuck are you doing? I don't want to keep throwing this guy under the bus every day on this program. I did that yesterday. Sean McDermott, I'm on Team McDermott. I'm not a Bills fan. There are Bills fans who disagree with me. Well, let me put it to you this way. For the guy out there, wherever you were on Super 70s, who said Sean McDermott can't get us over the hump. What's he done in the playoffs? Sean McDermott. Yeah, I don't care. 83-33 over the last 7 seasons. 5 AFC East championships in 9 seasons. I don't care about that. He's not getting it done in January, and therefore he has to go. And I said the most underrated thing is getting to the hump. Don't take getting to the hump for granted. Teams think that they're guaranteed the precipice after they've been there for a while. So let's bring in somebody just to get us over the hump. Well, see how much fun that might be if you hire Brian Dabol. How about that? Brian Dabol meeting with the Buffalo Bills. God, I hope they hire him. And then everybody that doesn't like Sean McDermott can come to grips with the greater reality of the world. This motherfucker who couldn't do anything right in New York, maybe he's going to move out of New York City to upstate New York and see what he can do. He met with Pagula and general manager Brandon Bean. He is I'm telling you right now, man, look at this. He's getting in person there. Now, this doesn't mean they're going to hire him. As we all know, teams talk to lots of guys, and they like to announce that now for some reason. That's a big thing in recent years. You interview a guy, and then you put it out there. We have interviewed this person. Good fucking luck to you if you replace Sean McDermott with Brian Dabol. And if they do that and I'm wrong, I'll eat crow on this program. But for everybody that is shit on Sean McDermott, be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. Now, speaking of getting it, there's nothing that hurts more as a sports fan than getting your hopes up, following your team all season, being wrapped up in the journey, getting very, very close, being at the hump, perhaps, that Sean McDermott couldn't get over, and then getting kicked in the teeth. We all know that feeling as a sports fan. I had it more this past weekend when the Bears lost to the Rams than I've had it in years. And as I said to Ronnie T-shirts, it kind of felt good. It kind of, it hurt so good, as John Mellencamp once sang, because you can't get your heart broken usually in sports unless your team is in it. There hasn't been a lot of heartbreak in Chicago Bears football for a long time because we were so fucking far away from being relevant. How much can it hurt? It was just like a general malaise that was over the fan base. But man, we got our hearts torn out on Sunday night. But the upside of that is when your heart gets torn out, you probably got a good team because the stakes were high enough to hurt you. So I tweeted out, inspired a little bit by that, on Super 70s, what's your most heartbreaking moment as a sports fan ever? Now, that one hurt on Sunday when the Bears didn't get it done in overtime. But in my entire life, the one that got me the worst, I got to go all the way back to the spring of 1992, the East Regional Final, Elite Eight, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at the Spectrum, where Dr. J used to conduct business, when Christian Laettner hit the shot. Duke 104, Kentucky 103 in overtime. And I am not too proud to tell you that it brought tears to my eyes. I was 20 years old, and that was the first time Kentucky had been good since I was about 12, really. And it was an improbable story, a bunch of kids mostly from Kentucky that Rick Pitino had brought in. We were undermanned, under-talented, and we took Duke all the way to the wire, and it took a game where that son of a bitch, Laettner, and I say that with respect, it took a game where he did not miss a shot from the field and he did not miss a free throw. Unless I'm mistaken, he was 10 of 10 from the field and 11 of 11 from the free throw line in that game. Christian Laettner misses one shot anywhere along the way, and that game has a different outcome. But if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle, depending upon how she identified. She could have balls and still be my aunt because it's 2026, I guess, but that's a whole different story. So I invited Super 70s Nation to weigh in on the topic of what sporting moment broke your heart the most, and we got some good responses here, as we always do over there. So here's one right here from the Yacht Rock Playlist consultant, our friend U.S. Reed, with the half-court heave for Arkansas in 1981 to beat my alma mater, the Louisville Cardinals, which at the time I didn't like Louisville because they were Kentucky's arch rival, but thank you for the master's degree. I used to work there too. But I remember that one. That was a heartbreaker.
Totally remember that one.
Yeah. Lawson. That's the great Matt Lawson. Our first two comments here are guys who've been on the show. When I tell people that sometimes our viewers are on the show and our friends, I'm not fucking kidding. It's good to see an ad there as well. Hopefully I'll be profiting from that ad placement, guys. That's encouraging, seeing the ad placed in my content. That means that I'm going to be profiting. The Windsor Welder says the Wisconsin Badgers losing to Duke and Grayson Allen, and I replied, always fucking Duke. Isn't it always Duke? My favorite team is my college and whoever's playing Duke. And as I said, losing to Grayson Allen, I think, is more painful than losing to Christian Laettner because it was fucking Grayson Allen. Travis confirms, he's a Kentucky fan, losing to Wisconsin in 2015 killed him. I had moved on by then. Charlie Baker. Was Charlie Baker the former governor of Massachusetts? Can we confirm that?
I mean, it says
I believe
MA
Charlie
at the end.
was the I believe he was the governor of Massachusetts at one time there, Charlie. He says Pedro Martinez coming out to pitch in the 8th inning against the Yankees when Mike Timlin and Scott Williamson had been unhittable in the 8th and the 9th for the previous 2 months. Thanks, Grady Little. There's a lot of people in Boston that do not remember the Grady Little era fondly. Of course, winning 3 World Series, and of course winning one, was it the year after that, I believe? I think that was 03 that he left Pedro in. Brian Hart, look at that. I assume he's a Sixers fan?
Yeah, that's probably when Kawhi had that shot that bounced all over the rim.
Yeah. Back in the Great White North there, Kawhi Leonard, the 1 year that he played for the Toronto Raptors and won a championship. Look at these ads. I love it. Elon, keep putting the ads under my content. Sid Bream, man, beating the throw of Barry Bonds in the 1992 National League Championship Series, getting that foot in there just ahead of Spanky Lavalier's tag.
When Sid
that
slid,
one was a gut shot.
That's what they call it in Atlanta.
For the
when
city
Sid
of Pittsburgh.
slid.
Yeah. How about, oh, man, I'll tell you what, this one made me cry. And it's a very limited number of times. Now, that one that we just passed by, I was 10 years old. But I remember that very, very well. I was watching when Dwight Clark made the catch. They've got a statue of Joe Montana and Dwight Clark just out of Levi's Stadium there in Santa Clara where the Super Bowl is going to be played soon. To commemorate that, Gary Carr, for crying out loud, cover Grant Hill on the inbounds. Rick Pitino, what were you thinking? Can we get a hand in Grant Hill's face? Is that too much? And how about this one? Here's one I haven't thought of in a while. The botched onside kick where the Green Bay Packers fumbled it away to the Seattle Seahawks and lost the game, man. Brutal. Absolutely brutal for Packers fans everywhere, man. They deserved it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not anti-Packers, really, to be quite honest with you. Oh, boy. How about Steve Bartman in the 2003 National League Championship Series? The Cubs 5 outs away from going to their first World Series since 1945. Moises Alou going over a Luis Castillo pop foul down the left field line, and fucking Steve Bartman right there in the Walkman sticks his hands out, knocks it away. He's been in hiding ever since. The poor guy. Pretty much ruined the guy's life. You think your loss was heartbreaking. Imagine how Steve Bartman felt. You have the heartbreaking loss, and then you become the pariah to the 3rd largest city in
Ricky,
America. Well, listen, don't be a pariah, my friends. Yes.
I got an
Sorry,
update.
Tim.
That does appear to be NCAA President Charlie Baker. So obviously Charlie's got some free time on his got some free time on his hands.
Yeah, he's currently
maybe he can join the show.
The NCAA president.
Right. If he's
well, I'd love to have him on.
Right. He's got time to vote. And
I'd love to have him on.
doesn't have time to fix the portal mess, but we'll see. He's getting his ass
Well,
kicked.
now let's not. Hey, listen. We're not going to shit on Super 70s followers today.
Not at all.
Listen,
no, I think
Tim, speak for yourself. Charlie, that's between you and Tim, Charlie. Charlie, you and me are fine. Okay? He's weighing in there. I don't know. Charlie, maybe also take a look at the NIL stuff in between reading my tweets.
Yeah, listen.
That could also potentially
be a very
helpful. But we would love to have Charlie on the show.
You would be a very friendly interview for him. You would round his rough edges. You may humanize him because honestly, people don't have a great opinion of him. So I think you should ping him. I think you should DM him and say, "Hey, Charlie."
I would love to have him on. I got nothing but love for Charlie Baker. So let's do it. Maybe we will look into.
Do I get to give mine? Because I have mine just stuck in my head right now, and if you don't let me get them out, then it's just going to weigh on me for forever. Like I need to get them out. So.
All right, let's run the low light reel for the Ohio State Buckeyes right now. Get it out of your system, Ronnie.
There's two. One of mine was when I was 10, like what you were talking about. Uwe von Schumann kicked a game-winning field goal against Ohio State.
Ronnie.
Shaman, I say, well, it's
future Miami Dolphin.
40-something years ago. He played for Oklahoma. It was in Columbus. I was in the basement by myself watching the game. Kind of hid. Did you ever do this, Ricky? Like you kind of hid so you didn't want to actually watch it happening because you were so afraid of what the result was going to be. And so I'm looking around the wall, and damn it, he hit it, and Ohio State lost to Oklahoma. And then opposite, 3 years ago, if we would have hit a 50-yard field goal against Georgia, we would have went to the national championship and played TCU, who Georgia beat like 500-0. So we most likely would have been national champions but we missed a 50-yard field goal. So those are mine.
Yeah, always remember the losses. The losses sting harder than the wins
feel good. 100%. 100%.
At least for me. Tim,
totally
what about yourself, man? Tim, what would make it into the conversation for you? Most heartbreaking moments as a fan.
Yeah, broken bat single, bottom of the ninth. Mariano Rivera on the mound. Arizona Diamondbacks. Gonzo, little broken bat up the middle. I was ready to celebrate 4 rings in 5 years, man. That was going to be the pinnacle of Yankee success. 2001, a lot of shit going on, as we know. Really just seemed like it was destined, and you could put that Rivera on the mound, 10 times, and I think 9 other times he but remember he had the bad throw down a second, like it was a mess. But it's got to be the 0-1 World Series for me.
Yeah, I was pulling for the Yankees too. Because as you said, it being just a month, little over a month after 9/11. New York, after what it experienced, the idea of the Yankees winning the World Series. I think a lot of people were Yankees, probably more Yankees fans in America during that World Series than any other World Series that they've ever appeared in. Friends, if you enjoy this kind of content, and how could you not? Unless you're some kind of fucking communist, why don't you head over and subscribe to the Ricky Cobb Show on YouTube? In fact, you might be watching this show on YouTube right now, in which case it's very easy for you to do so. So there's always people who are smart. They always point at it or whatever. Where am I going?
Down.
How do I
point down?
There we go. Right there. Click subscribe. No, I'm kidding. I don't mean that. You're my friend. Subscribe, like, comment, and subscribe, I believe is what the kids say. So give us some likes. It helps us. And leave your comments, please, because we love to engage with them, as we just established here, just in this segment. We'll be looking forward. Add your thoughts, please, right here on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, heartbreaking losses. Who do you think should be the NFL MVP? We value your input, and we often feature it on the program. So jump right in, join us, be a part of the fun right here on the Ricky Cobb Show. Subscribe, won't you? Now, with that settled away, do you think the fun's over? Not even by a long shot, because we're at one of my favorite points in the show where we take the pulse of America on questions that perhaps people have never even considered before. In fact, I'm certain some of the questions people have never considered before. And it's time to buckle up and come along for the ride with us, because it's time for America's Poll of the Day. And let's go to it now at Super 70 Sports on X, where the Eagle flies high. And Ronnie t-shirts I bring to you today. This one is very, even more retro, I think, vibes than normal, quite honestly, as you look at this poll. We're going to start with wacky packages. And I don't know how much of a sports card collector you were or what have you, but wacky packages were always a nice alternative to buying some baseball cards or football cards or basketball cards or whatever. And you get the parody products, whatever. I always loved it when I was a kid, produced by Topps. Secondly, we've got the great one, Jackie Gleason, Buford T. Justice himself, Ralph Cramden from the Honeymooners. Third, the Royal Rumble, one of WWE's signature events. And then lastly, the Viewmaster, which, if you're of a certain age, I don't have to tell you what a Viewmaster is, but if you're a youngin', it was, you'd put these photo negatives inside a plastic thing, and it was spectacular viewing. Ronnie,
what a great
break
description.
it down for me.
What a great description.
As only you can.
It was a plastic thing with photo negatives, and it was a thing. Oh, I know what you're talking about.
It was a thing. Look, everything is a little crazy here, right? Ron, this is all I have to drink. I've taken like 3 sips. I'm sober as a judge, but I'm drinking a cider today just to keep the whistle wet, because I'm stuck in the house because I wrecked my car. Well, somebody else wrecked my car. I got backed into. And so the Challenger is in the shop, hoping to have it back in another week or a week and a half or so, Ron. But I'm just at the point now where I'm just making do with whatever liquids I have in the refrigerator.
And hey, by the way, if you're in the Chicagoland and you see a Challenger and it's basically this color of my shirt or Mountain Dew, might be Ricky. Give him a honk. Give him a honk.
Yeah, if you see a lime green Challenger, don't try to run me off the road or anything. I've already had enough problems. But anyway, Ryan, break it down for me as only you can. Tell me all about plastic things with things inside them.
Negatives and yeah. Okay, so wacky packages, I always found them, especially, as a 10 or 12-year-old. I mean, they're pretty damn funny. Super clever, borderline raunchy humor, but not quite. It was still acceptable for a 10 or 12-year-old.
You made me think of something. My sweet girlfriend, who just arrived in Chicago about an hour and a half before we began
need to get her
filming.
on the show. We need to get her on the show.
She's upstairs. She's upstairs right now, Ron, resting.
Text her. Tell her to come down.
Well, she was up at 6 a.m. to fly to Chicago, but we'll see. Maybe one day we'll get her to peek in. We'll see how she feels about it. But she told me Virginia Slims. Do you remember Virginia Slims cigarettes? Cigarettes marketed towards women.
Yeah.
You've come a long way, baby, I believe was their
sponsored women's tennis.
Yeah. So this was not a wacky packages, but she told me that she and her friends back in high school, people called Virginia Slims vagina slimes. Have you ever heard that before?
I haven't.
I had never heard that one.
I have not.
We need adult wacky packages now, because I definitely think that if there was wacky packages after dark, I could definitely see vagina slimes making the cut.
I don't know how to top that. Jackie Gleason. I don't even know what to say. So yeah, wacky package is good. Jackie Gleason,
very good, in fact.
Yeah, Jackie Gleason, man. I know he was a Honeymooners, and I know. I know Buford T. Justice. That's really the only time I can even remember consuming him as anything he was in. So definitely not crapping on him. I just don't have a whole lot of experience watching him as an actor. Royal Rumble is less than Jackie Gleason. I know what the concept is, and I think if you like wrestling, it would be a blast to watch.
All right, Ron,
What?
This to me is an opportunity for great, I'm going to say television. A lot of people are watching this on their television.
Yeah.
Just describe the Royal Rumble for me. Explain to somebody what the Royal Rumble is.
So it's a plastic thing, and you put in. Oh, that's a Viewmaster. So you've got the regular ring, the regular wrestling ring, and then you've got. I don't know the number. I don't know if it's all of the wrestlers or if it's a limited number, but I know it's a lot. So I'm going to say somewhere between 20 and 30. It feels like. And
30, I believe it's 30, Ron.
Okay.
That's good.
And so I don't believe they put them all in at once and just have a free for all. I think they start with a number of, and then they have like a time sequence to go in. And I guess, is it kind of like sumo wrestling where you're just trying to get them out of the ring? And so once you're out of the ring, you're done. And I assume
you did very well. Yeah.
I assume that's
true.
Like if you and I were wrestlers, and since you and I are friends and we do the show together and all that stuff, you and I might like for a while, like be in cahoots and like we'll try to get Tim and Jared out or whoever, somebody we don't like, right?
Absolutely.
Like I think it sounds like we'd probably help each other. And then it's just basically last man standing. That's the winner of the Royal Rumble. That's what I think it is.
I know who I would have eliminated, but he ultimately eliminated himself. Ron, let me tell you this.
Wait,
it
was
is
I right?
every 2 minutes is what it. You're pretty close to right. They go. It's like the old battle royals, where you would have X number of guys in the ring, and then it would be the last man who stayed in the ring. The only way that you could be eliminated is going over the top rope. The Royal Rumble took that and put a twist on it. I think it was Pat Patterson who came up with this idea, longtime WWE wrestler and executive. Anyway, the idea is you start with one person. Number one, we all draw a number, okay, 1 through 30. I mean, it's all scripted, but, somebody's number one.
Oh, yeah.
They come out, they're in the ring.
Accounting firm made
they're in
sure
the
it was
ring.
legit.
Yeah, and then we wait for number 2 to come out. And then every 2 minutes, I think they've shortened it now where it's like more like a minute. But at intervals, they play the next person's music and they come out. So, imagine it starts out you and me, and then, you hear like, now you're messing with a son of a bitch. And then Gary Schreier comes out. Whatever, right? And then there's 3 of us in the ring. And then, maybe somebody gets eliminated, maybe they don't. And then in a little bit, you hear the music hit, and somebody you hear the Imperial March from Star Wars, and here comes Aaron Spielberg out. Whatever Gutfeld's music is. And then eventually you've got people in the ring. People are being eliminated, but people are coming in as you go. So the Royal Rumble, very innovative. And even to this day, I enjoy watching the Royal
Rumble. It feels like the
Rumble.
higher your number, the better. If it wasn't scripted, it feels like the higher your number.
You definitely want to be number 30.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just come in number 30. It's an easier night's work. Ric Flair, I think, won it from either the number 1 or 2 position years ago. He was in the ring for like an hour during the course of that thing. Royal Rumbles are fun to watch when you're high. Everything is more fun to do when you're high. But Royal Rumbles are fun to watch when you're high because there's so many guys in the ring and they've got to just sort of stay active. And there's only so much you can script that. So they're just kind of walking around the ring, just trying to stay busy during the course of it or whatever. So I'm a Royal Rumble enthusiast, Ron, but not as much as I like plastic things with negatives in them.
So Viewmaster, that Viewmaster is going to be my pick for this because I had a Viewmaster when I was a kid, and I'm old enough that what do I have? Three television stations when I was a kid. And so this was just, it was almost like, I follow travel accounts now on Instagram. And so I get to see all these cool pictures of places that I want to go. And I got to do that with Viewmaster. Like I remember I had, I don't know, like national parks, and I had the fun ones too. I think I probably had like Spider-Man or whatever. But I assume somebody's going to put a picture in the comments, and so we'll see them with replies. But I loved Viewmaster.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big deal. And it was, I think for parents and
parents
and grandparents, it was great because if you did like Viewmaster, they always had something that they could get you for a gift, which was a new disc that you could, view. So yeah, I'm going Viewmaster.
All right, well, let's light the candle. I think we've talked it out. Let's see what the public says. I'm voting for wacky packages, by the way. I'm not supposed to reveal that until the vote comes up, but I'll just tell you, I voted for wacky packages. Spoiler alert. With all respect to those other 3 items, I'm a fan of all 4, and I'm in the minority. Once again, Jackie Gleason. And listen, on the strength of playing Sheriff Buford T. Justice and Smokey and the Bandit alone, he needed a Diablo sandwich and a Dr. Pepper, Ron, because he was in a hurry. And by the way, Ron, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but since I have given my life to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Ron, I no longer use GD. So I don't know if you'd noticed that or not. In my tweets, people for years and years have said, why do you got to do that? And I was like, well, I'll do what I want to. I no longer use that word, Ron. So how about that? Did you know that about your broadcast partner?
I didn't know about the other thing. I guess we're going to have a conversation after the show.
Yeah. I'm not going to be one of, I'm not going to be like some,
JC? Did you say JC
lame,
or JD?
preachy person. GD.
Wow, that's like that's the most vanilla phrase you use, but I understand why. God bless you.
Yeah, I finally decided I was going to drop it. I figure if I can, it's the least I can do. Somebody gives everything for you, It's a respect thing there. Look at me. I'm going off brand. You guys are like stunned right now, aren't you? Both
Dude,
of you
you've very it's like you just told me something that I had no idea.
I thought you knew that.
No.
I thought you knew that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not trying to make like a big thing of it, but at the same time, I have a platform and, I'd like to just put that out there in case there's anybody out there who's kind of like wavering on the fence and they think, well, if that heathen Ricky Cobb can do it, maybe it'd work for me too, I mean, see, that's the thing. I'm in a position of at least some degree of prominence. If I can somehow get my sorry ass to heaven and maybe drag a couple of people along with me, maybe God will forgive me for some of the idiotic shit I've done in my life is the way that I look at it. And speaking of idiotic shit, Ron, it never gets any thicker during this program than when I tilt my head slightly, look into the camera quizzically, and ask simply, what the fuck, Ron? I haven't given up all profanity, Ron. I don't think there's anything wrong with the rest of it. So there's still going to be F-bombs and motherfuckers dropping everywhere. I'm still the same guy. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Not much to say on this one. I happened to be scrolling on social media last night. I saw something and I'm like, my literal first reaction was, what the fuck? And so if that's my reaction, I feel like I at least have to run it past Tim and Jared to see if it's something we can do on the show. And they said yes. And so all I'm going to tell you is Naomi Osaka playing in the Australian Open, and she walks out onto the court for her match, and I'm watching it, and I just went, what the fuck? That's it. That's it, Ricky. That's my story.
I actually saw this one. So, yeah.
What am I watching?
Somebody who desperately wants attention.
Is that
somebody that wants attention?
What's that? It's not an umbrella. What's it called? A parasol or something? What
Poppins. I don't know. What was it supposed to be, like a fish? Like somebody said something about it was.
So you understand?
Like, can we just put on our tennis clothes and go play tennis? This reminds me of when Deontay Wilder got knocked out by Tyson Fury in their rematch. And afterwards, he blamed it on the costume that he wore to the ring, that it was too heavy.
Heavy, yeah, I remember
and
that.
I thought and I tweeted at the time, like, imagine going back to the 1920s and trying to explain to Jack Dempsey that somebody lost a heavyweight championship fight and he felt that it was because his costume was too heavy. As life goes on, things get stupider. They get stupider. And we don't have this right now, but I would love, speaking of things that are stupid, I wish that I had the Indiana basketball tweet that I tweeted out. Did you see this tweet? With these guys?
So good on your end, and
we'll
so embarrassing on their end.
We'll do it maybe on the show tomorrow. And then imagine Scott May or Steve Alford
Kent Benson.
or any great player. Yeah, imagine Kent Benson doing that. Kent Benson and Scott May were fucking grown-ass men.
Yep.
You know, I mean, Curt Cignetti is not the first person who has coached grown-ass men at the University of Indiana. Bob Knight had a few back in the day. And Bob Knight is spinning in his grave.
Oh, spinning.
If he saw
turning,
that.
Spinning.
I mean, spit like the Tasmanian fucking devil.
Yep.
There's going to be a hand that comes up out of the ground with a red, fucking sweatshirt sleeve on it. And if Bobby Knight comes back and chokes both of these motherfuckers for just being
themselves.
Like children. Are they sixth graders?
I think you need teenage
unbelievable.
Girls. Teenage girls.
Oh, teenage girls would be giving them too much credit, probably.
Teenage girls would bully them.
It's some Jackson Mahomes shit. Is that Patrick's brother's name? I've forgotten,
yes.
But
it
gave me Jackson Mahomes energy.
Yeah. Yep.
Like the amount of testosterone that these two kids have together combined
is none.
Wouldn't fill up a thimble. I mean, it's embarrassing where we're going as a culture. As everything goes on in life, it gets progressively stupider, is what I have decided. And that's the reason that when you get old, you eventually get to a point where you're okay with dying. Because you just look around at the world and you're just like, well,
stupid.
I hope whatever's next is better than this because I don't understand shit anymore. And I'll place that as, one of my primary examples right now. What the fuck else is going on, Ronnie?
Netflix. So, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were on the Joe Rogan podcast, and they were discussing how Netflix is now kind of directing movies to be made. And I'll just go ahead and I'll let Matt explain.
Netflix, standard way to make an action movie that we learned was, you usually have like 3 set pieces, one in the first act, one in the second, and one in the third. And, they kind of ramp up, and the big one with all the explosions, and you spend most of your money on that one in the third act. That's your kind of finale. And now they're like, can we get a big one in the first 5 minutes to get somebody, we want people to stay tuned in. And it wouldn't be terrible if you reiterated the plot 3 or 4 times in the dialogue because people are on their phones while they're watching. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the whole gist of all of this, Ricky, was how we are consuming things. And I have to raise my hand because Lori gets mad at me because we watch TV together, and you kind of are a team when you're watching TV together, and you kind of depend on each other. Like, hey, wait, what did he just say? And
like
half the time,
airline pilots, basically.
I'm like, I don't know.
That's what it's like.
I'm like, I don't know. And the reason I didn't know is because I was looking at my damn phone, and so I'm doing that. I'm doing exactly what they said, and it just got me thinking. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? Why can't we just sit on our couch and enjoy what we're looking at for the time that we're supposed to be looking at it? But instead, my dumbass is doing this. I'm on my gambling app. I'm looking at scores. I'm looking at X. I'm seeing what you tweeted. And so I thought that was just pretty like eye-opening. Made me think about how I consume stuff.
we've been rewired, Ron. I don't know if we could go back to the way that we were if we wanted to. I do not have patience to set through things anywhere near to what I had when I was younger. And I think for most of human history, we probably developed more patience as we got older. You know, that the average 50-year-old person had a bigger attention span than the average 18-year-old person. I think my attention span was actually more expansive when I was young than it is now that I'm 54. And it's counter to what one would expect. But when I was 18, I didn't have gadgets the way that I do now. I didn't have all these little dopamine hits that were waiting for me when I checked the score, I checked the gambling app, or I skimmed through a couple of reels or whatever was going on. And you know what he said about having an explosion or whatever in the first 5 minutes. It's the same reason that, you know, I've always said it for years. We've seen it for a long time in movie trailers. Things blow up. People are hanging by a thread in some precarious situation. Somebody gets hit in the nuts, you know, because they try to put something in that 30 seconds that you're actually going to remember. And what do we remember? We remember like a nut shot. We remember something exploding. And now it's gotten so bad that they got to treat the first minutes of the movie as if it's a commercial, basically. Because if a movie, you know, I don't like for movies to start slow, you know, but there are a lot of good movies. There are a lot of great movies that start kind of slow. And I don't know if you have that luxury anymore as a filmmaker.
You don't with me.
Because in the old days, people would stick with it. And then you get to the good part and it was worth it.
If you haven't hooked me in 20 minutes, we live in a life now. I'm gone.
We expect everything to be the good part. Remember, like in pornography, Ron? Back in the 70s, there was a story. They would pretend that it was a movie. Yeah, it's very suspicious, Ron. They would pretend that it was a movie. The first two pornos that I ever saw were at Tubby Gray's house. Oh. Shout out to Tubby. No, it was not Blow Your Own Horn. The first two pornos I ever saw, VHS. I was in high school. A bunch of us guys met over at Tubby Gray's house. And Tubby had these somehow or another. Great guy. I love you, Tubby. Brian Gray, but his friends call him Tubby. Brian had two movies. He had Very Dirty Dancing. And he had Rambone. Okay. Well, no, he had Rambone. Okay. That guy was out for more than First Blood. Let me tell you that. Okay. So we're all watching this, but they pretended to be movies. There would be like a whole plot just to get you to somebody sucking a dick, whereas a long time ago, we moved past that. Now we're just like, people are going on to websites or whatever. And I mean, that dick had better be out in about 15 seconds or people are moving on. We don't have time for the plot and the dialogue and the bad acting. So everything in life has been sort of this ruthless march towards like maximum getting to the good part as soon as possible. And that's where we get those dopamine hits. And we're losing the ability to have like the slow build, the artistry, higher forms of art where we can think about things and whatever. And it's kind of sad, honestly. Like what Damon was saying, they were laughing about it, but that is probably the new reality. And it's only going to get more like that as we go into the future. And I don't think it says great things about where we are culturally. Because I'm not proud that I'm on my phone. And there's few people that are on their phone more than I am. As you know, Ron, I've lived on my phone for over a decade. It's my livelihood. It's the reason I'm sitting here in this chair right now.
It's the reason I'm sitting in this chair.
I've learned to integrate it. Yeah, I mean, I've learned to integrate it pretty well. But anybody who knows me very well or is around me very much, they have to come to understand it's not personal. I will apologize oftentimes. Like if I'm out with somebody, I'll say, hey, I'm sorry. I got to send a couple of tweets, because it's my job. And it's always there, right? And it's great. It's been a blessing in many ways, but you do that for so long. There's a part of you that just, man, I would love to just put my phone away for a week and just go off the grid somewhere and just not even think about it. So, a lot of the modern things we have are awesome, but at the same time, we're sort of slaves to it as well. And, there's a lot of us that, man, if we're not getting that phone, if we're not able to check the things that we want to check, you get antsy. You start to tweak a little bit. Speaking for myself,
Yeah.
Well,
what's scary? What's scary about all this,
aren't
Ricky?
Tweaking too much.
Yeah. What's really scary about all this is, we're just talking about you and me right now. So we've got, we were hardwired for, you were hardwired for 40 years. I was hardwired for 45 years not to have all this stuff. And look what it has done to me in whatever it is, 10 years, right? It's completely changed how my brain works. What about these kids that are 2 and 3? And that is like, they're never going to have that base of what we had. They're just going to be this.
They won't even know. They won't even know what it's like. I remember the kid that I saw a number of years ago who had a magazine, a physical magazine. It was like a toddler, maybe 2-year-old kid. And the toddler was running its finger along the magazine, trying to scroll.
Swipe on a picture.
And it's funny, it's sad, and it's kind of horrifying if you really think about it.
Do you ever catch yourself
on a lot of levels?
Do you ever catch yourself doing this? Like on a picture that's not on your screen and you can't see it and you go like this and you like catch yourself because you're trying to make it bigger. Like I've done
trying
that.
to expand it.
Yeah.
It's a crazy world. We live in remarkable time. I don't want to go all full sociologist here, but we are living through the most rapid period of societal change that has occurred, if not ever, than in, I wouldn't know how far back you would have to fucking go to find anything that can begin to compare with it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I grew up with grandparents who were born, who remembered the Great Depression. Okay. And now here we are in 2026 and the future is going to get even weirder. And you think it's weird now? Wait till you see how weird it is in another 3 or 4 years. Wait till you see how weird it is in 10 years. 10 years from now will make
Chips in
now
our head.
look like the
Chips
fucking
in our
80s.
brains. Chips in our brains.
Yeah, never for me. Never for me. I'm opting out. I'm not having any, but in the future, that is absolutely what will happen. Everybody will be a cyborg in the future. Everybody will be a cyborg in the future. Virtually everybody will be. Okay, and that'll be just considered normal. And it'll be like you've just got extra sense implanted in you. And I fully believe it'll be like the Terminator. You'll be able to walk along and you'll just see shit, whatever. I'm just telling you. One day we'll look back on these absolutely bizarre times that we live in.
Think they were simple.
And they will feel as antiquated. They'll feel as antiquated as the 1950s because it's all relative. Let's go to poll replies. Shall
Maybe there's
we?
a Viewmaster. Is there a Viewmaster in there?
Yeah. Yeah. Can we just go back to the simple things like Viewmasters? I'm hoping for Viewmaster comments here. Mark Clark says, if you don't vote for Sheriff Buford T. Justice, he'll barbecue your ass in molasses. You some bitch. Justin Time says, I picked Viewmaster only because I'm a big fan of recency bias. I don't know. None of the things that we have today are very recent. Mike Shea says, some bitch. He made those boys stand on the side of the highway, if you'll recall. Ronnie? Made them put their hands on the car and told them they could think about leaving, but they better not play with themselves because it wouldn't look nice on his highway. And with that being said, I think we've come to the end of the road just like Boys to Men did. Ronnie, thank you as always for your contributions to this broadcasting excellence. My thanks as well to P.A. Jared, the best producer in the business, producer Tim, and of course, the fantastic crew we have in Nashville. Molly, Colin, Adam, everybody down there makes my life a lot easier. I can certainly tell you that. My friends, hope that you've enjoyed the show, and more than that, I hope that you'll be with us next time when we tee it high and let it fly with another episode of The Ricky Cobb Show.